time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon. Boom.
That was a bassy one. Oh, there's an aftershock.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This is a show where we wake up with a Saturday morning sun, plop down on the living room floor with a big bowl of sugary cereal, and watch all your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And this morning, we watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, plural.
Like you weren't quite sure if that was the word.
Because I just noticed it was plural. Because the movie is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and this one has an S tagged on because it's
because there's so many adventures that they're going to have.
Because it's a continuation.
Yeah, they just keep having adventures.
So I just had a revelation, basically, as I was reading that word. Adventures. Oh. There it is.
I get it. It was like me having that realization with Ruby last episode. I was like, what?
Ruby?
Oh, man. This was chosen by at Callie Comstock on Twitter. So thanks, Callie.
Thanks, Callie.
We talked a little bit when she requested this. This was like months ago because like it takes us so long to get through some of these.
Well, the way we are now is randomized, right?
Yeah, it is random now because we just had a bunch of requests. So just a heads up for everybody that sends us requests. All of your requests are going into a list, and the episodes will be randomly generated for us. So it's all in the spreadsheet, and all we do is press a little button, and it tells us what we're doing next week. We're trying to make it more fair because everybody's waiting so long.
So we're not trying to ignore you if you've been waiting a long time. Yeah. And we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Maybe.
I promise. Maybe. Callie got there. Good job, Callie.
Congratulations, Callie. So Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures.
Excellent Adventure.
Aired from 1990 to 1991. The executive producers were David Kirshner for season 1, Paul Sabella for season 1, and Andrew Hayward for season 2. Produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions for the first season, Deke for the second season, Nelson Entertainment, Orion Television, and MGM Television for both seasons. It was 2 seasons, 21 episodes long. Aired on the CBS network for the first season and Fox Kids for the second season. And I'm saying first season, second season a lot because this was kind of a show that was split down the middle and taken over after the first season. And it was very noticeable, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Star Wars Ewoks went. Remember, like that first season was vastly different than the second one.
Yeah, because there was that one Timo or something who was so cool in the first season.
And then they got rid of him.
And then he just sucked in the second season. Like,
that's right.
Dumb.
They changed his personality, and then they changed all the voice actors. They added a new character, like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so
it's kind of like that.
Yeah, so it pulled an Ewok. It jumped the Ewok.
They Ewoked all over this show.
They did Ewok all over it. We're here all night.
Oh.
For a short synopsis, high school slackers Bill and Ted, with the help of Rufus, use a time-traveling telephone booth to visit different points in our history and future. Whoa.
That is true. Whoa!
Man.
That did happen.
This show had me kind of like questioning reality a little bit, where I'm just like, oh no, we'll talk about it later because I'm going to just get into the whole big thing if I start now. I got to save it. I'll save it. So Chris, who are a few of the actors who played in the show?
Okay, so as we were talking about, there's a big difference between season 1 and season 2, and part of that is the entire voice cast was replaced. Mm-hmm. So season 1, Bill was voiced by Alex Winter, Ted was voiced by Keanu Reeves, and Rufus was voiced by George Carlin. Everyone from the actual movies. Whoa! But then season 2 came along, and Bill was voiced by Evan Richards, Ted was voiced by Christopher Kennedy, and Rufus was voiced by Rick Overton.
Ah, bogus. What was the thing they kept saying? Most heinous. That's what it was.
Most heinous. That just that word heinous cracks me up just for reasons I won't get into.
So for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Bill and Ted cereal, the premiere date for the animated series is September 15th. the same day of the 4th annual Battle of the Bands in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which was the second movie of the series. This animated series was followed by a live-action TV series in 1992, which only ran for 7 episodes. I've never personally seen it, but I can only assume it was bogus.
You know, one thing I do know about that is that the 3 guys that they had voicing the characters for season 2 of the cartoon were the live action actors, I think, for the TV show.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right. And that's cool that they try to transition it that way, but it's still such a weird thing. Yeah.
So
I think I kind of want to see it just to see how badly it failed, but I feel bad already. I feel bad for him. So for the third thing, Bill and Ted's Excellent Comic Book was a 12-issue comic book series published in 1991 by Marvel and based on the Bill and Ted franchise. The series was nominated for a 1992 Eisner Award in the category for Best Humor Comic.
Wow, that's kind of surprising.
And Marvel has done so many of these series that we watch. Marvel has done like a short run on those, and I never even knew they had a comic period.
Marvel used to know what they were doing.
Oh, yeah. Bill and Ted's Excellent Cereal was a serial based on the Bill and Ted movies and cartoon in the late 1980s and early 1990s. It was promoted with the branding slogan, "A most awesome breakfast adventure."
Nice.
Yeah. I want to eat some.
I wonder if it tasted excellent.
Probably not.
Yeah,
but
probably not.
For the adventure, I'm all over it. Finally, there was also a Game Boy, NES, Atari Lynx, and PC video game release for this series.
Really?
Not just the cartoon series, but the entire Bill and Ted franchise.
But like Atari? Like Atari was still like doing stuff at that point?
Well, the Lynx.
My voice got really high there. Wow.
The Atari Lynx, which is different than the regular Atari. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Atari Lynx was still doing stuff like that?
Yeah, still doing stuff like that. I can't do it. I can't get my voice out. So clearly this was a very popular franchise at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the main reason we're here today, the animated series.
Yes.
Chris, what memories do you have of this show?
Well, since this franchise was super popular, everyone knew it. I had never seen the movies. I honestly have never seen them, ever. I know of them. I also knew of the cartoon and just didn't watch it because I'd never seen the movies. So I was like, meh, that's about it. That's my story. I never saw it.
Cool story, bro.
Yep.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I honestly, I kept thinking back, like, have I seen these movies? I feel like I should have.
Oh, really? You haven't seen them either?
I don't think so.
Oh, my God.
It was a cultural phenomenon at the time, but I just never saw the movies. I never had an outlet to, so I just knew of it, like you said.
Wow.
I never knew the cartoon series existed, though, or at least I don't remember ever seeing it. So, but that could also be because I didn't see the movie, so I never found interest in watching the cartoon.
I was expecting to be shamed by you, but
I tried to at first, but then I realized I hadn't either. So
you're about to say something to me, then you're like,
"Oh wait, no,
uh-oh.
I'm a hypocrite."
You could have just faked it. Like, don't you remember that great scene with the guys? And then there's the stuff that happened, and then
you don't remember how excellent it was?
It was okay by the end of the movie.
Yeah,
you don't remember that?
Everyone was better because of their experiences. You don't remember?
Yeah. All I know is Wild Stallions. That's the one thing I knew from that, because I used to be in a band, and the singer, like, this is when I was in like high school, used to think it was really funny to yell Wild Stallions in the middle of, like, just for no reason. Like you just, Wild Stallions! Just,
during the shows?
Like, right when we first start.
Oh,
he would just go up there and do it, and then, like, everyone would just stare at him, and we're like,
crickets.
Yeah, you could hear somebody in the back of the room like sigh.
Boo.
Okay, well, I'm glad I'm not alone in that I haven't seen the movies or anything.
I know. I feel like we're going to be shamed, though.
We're going to get shamed by the listeners.
So
like,
hard.
I know we're going to get shamed.
Someone's going to call us out on this.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It is Saturday morning, and I am monitoring my phone for social media to see who. Oh, there's one.
Yep.
Who shames us.
Here's one. Oh. Death threats already? Really? Death threats too?
Oh,
come on,
man.
guys.
Jeez.
This is a happy time.
Oh, someone said only in Trump's America. Great.
Make Cartoon Boom great again. No.
Oh, God.
Oh. We've gone on too long with
strayed
this.
so far.
Well, let's go ahead and jump right into 3 episodes we watched for today's show, even though we haven't seen the movie. Plural. The very first episode, the highest rated episode, and finally a random listener chosen episode. Order may vary depending on how these episodes fall chronologically, but of course we have to start with the very first episode, being One Sweet and Sour Chinese Adventure to Go.
Nice.
Season 1, Episode 1, where Bill and Ted play loud rock and roll music and accidentally break a Chinese vase. To avoid getting in trouble, the dudes use their trusty phone booth time machine to go to ancient China and find a replacement.
Nice.
Yeah.
That did happen. This episode really like treaded that fine line of like borderline racism stereotypes
I felt the
with all the
same way
Chinese
when I
people.
saw their... You know what, though?
Ugh.
I did respect that they didn't pull what I thought they were going to with the Chinese people. Like, they didn't really have accents, and they didn't have, like, slanted eyes or anything.
But they had overly large teeth.
That, yes, which is bad, but it's not the worst it could have been.
It could have been much worse.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a real fine line, and I was like, like, oh man.
You always watch these and you're kind of like, oh, is it gonna happen? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like times were it was a little bit looser then, so I don't know how they're gonna pull
back
this.
It's like watching old Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that was completely
Those were
racist.
the worst. Those were the most racist things ever.
There was like a Looney Tunes episode where I think Donald, I mean, it was one of those where it was like a scenario thing. Donald was a Nazi of some sort.
Daffy, sir.
Oh, sorry. Daffy was a Nazi.
Yeah, Daffy was a
Right.
Nazi at one point.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. But this show.
Oh yes, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
So this starts out with them. They're playing music. Well, it still is in the garage, and it's annoying the crap out of Bill's dad. Dude, Bill's dad, like, kudos, because he got himself a hot wife.
Yeah.
And like, he is a portly gentleman of the nerd looking persuasion. And I'm just like, dude, that is not realistic, because I wouldn't say I'm portly, but I'm not a thin man of the nerd persuasion. And I'm like, how do I not get me a girl like this? I mean, come on.
You know what? We have to watch
Tell
the
me,
movie.
Joseph.
We have to watch the movie to find out.
Yeah.
Because this is like a carryover from the movie.
We need to go into his backstory and find out like what he did.
Yeah, and treat it like real life, because it'll help us too.
Exactly.
What I find interesting actually about the show in general is that they follow up directly from the end of the movies. I'm not sure if I think they might finish right after the second one does, or come in right after the second one ends. But what's interesting, it was the first one, because what's interesting about it though is that they don't give you a whole origin story again. It's just like picks up where the movie leaves off, kind of. All
you need to know is it's two guys playing music, and they can get in a phone booth and travel in time. Well, like, because kind of before the episode starts, Rufus gives a real quick rundown of like, sets the stage.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I've been tasked with, like, doing something with the chosen ones.
Oh yeah, that's like in the intro. It says that.
Yeah. So that's all the explanation you really need, honestly. I mean, because the rest is just hijinks, and
Hijinks
doesn't necessarily
galore.
have a ongoing plot or theme or anything. It's just hijinks.
Yeah, so they break. Missy is his wife's name. They break Missy's vase.
And it was most indeed heinous turn of events.
Yeah, exactly. Most heinous.
As they would say.
What's funny in a way, and also like way over the top, is that they have the smallest problems possible in like every one of these episodes, and they blow them out of proportion and end up going back in time for no reason at all, just to fix these problems that could easily be remedied.
Right.
In present time.
I love their like thought process where the vase breaks. Vase? Is it a vase? I don't know how you pronounce this.
It's tomato.
Yeah. So the tomato breaks, and while Missy and her husband, Bill's dad, are gone, and they just assume it's some like ancient artifact thing. So they're like, oh no. And they're like, how do we replace an ancient Chinese vase? And they're like, go to ancient China. So they get in the phone booth where Rufus is like ordering a pizza with no anchovies, but it gets delivered with anchovies, and he's very sad.
Of course.
So they go to ancient China to find another one of these vases. And these vases are apparently like everyone has one out there because like they're describing it to some guy and he's like, oh yeah, we got one over here. We have tons.
Yeah.
And then they grab it, but proceed to break everything else in the shop in like one movement, break everything.
Yeah. And then they have to become kind of indentured servants and
For breaking all that stuff.
for
like
breaking
that
all
was
that
their
stuff.
punishment.
Their punishment is to build the Great Wall of China
Yeah.
from scratch alone.
Which they end up accidentally destroying also.
But it takes them like a day, I think, and they build it all,
Yeah.
accidentally break it, or one of the, like the guy who was guarding them, like leans into it or something, or falls over into it.
Yeah, they just didn't do a good job. It wasn't very sturdy. So he
Right.
leans against it and the whole wall falls down.
Yeah.
Well, the phone booth got stolen because these Chinese dudes are eyeing it up and they're like, oh, it's a picture
You're
booth.
right. Marco Polo comes into this.
Yeah, so they're like, it was Marco Polo is there, and he comes into it later. Okay, so these Chinese guys find the phone booth and they assume it's a picture booth, and I'm like, why? There's no such thing as pictures at this point in history, so that was confusing. So they take it to like their king, who gives it as a gift to Marco Polo, who is visiting as like it's like a peace thing between your two countries, like Italy and China, even though I don't know that they actually had any interactions at all. I'm not really.
I feel like this was historically accurate. Go on.
Okay. Yeah. So Marco Polo takes the phone booth on his boat. Yeah, this is probably historically accurate.
I'm going to take it as such.
And the guys are like, we got to get it back. So they get on the boat. Because they are who they are, they cause some problems, and Marco Polo tries to make them walk the plank, which they do, and then a shark eats their vase. And I don't remember what exactly happened. Like, I feel like something happened and busted a hole through the ship where the phone booth fell out, and they got in it, but so did like Marco Polo, maybe another couple guys, and the shark.
Yeah,
or something, and a bunch of water, and it shows up in the king of Italy or whatever the Polo was going back to. It shows up in his dining hall where they're setting this banquet, and it just floods it and ruins everything. Yeah.
So they are ruining history. Yes.
They're ruining history. Oh, also, so one really important thing that we missed was at one point they went to get Chinese food while they were in China. And they go to the restaurant, and then they needed to go find the phone booth, so they ordered it to go. First, they ordered a number 10. And they're like, So then they're like, can we get to go? And they're like, what do you mean? Ted takes like this paper and folds what I guess is supposed to be the very first like little carrying bucket.
Yeah, the to-go box.
Food.
Yeah.
The to-go box that you usually see.
The little carrying bucket.
So they invented it, I guess. But then they also inadvertently invent spaghetti once they're
that's right. Yeah.
Italy.
Because they bring the to-go box along with them, and when they drop it at the banquet in Italy, he picks it up and what did they say? Like, we can't call it noodles or something.
Yeah, because they ruined the banquet, and so they're like, "Chill out, dude. Here you go." And he eats it, and he's like, "Oh, this is amazing." And he's like, "Yeah," it says something like he doesn't want to steal the Chinese names for it, and he's like, "I'll call it." And then the guy's dog, whose name is Spaghetti, runs into him. And he's like, spaghetti. And then you're like, oh,
gosh,
okay. So this is how spaghetti was first made.
And again, this is historically accurate. So
yeah. So spaghetti was actually originally just lo mein.
Yeah. And named after a dog.
That Marco Polo brought to the king of Italy. Mm-hmm. That sounds right.
Let me preface this whole episode by saying, disclaimer, like none of this is probably historically accurate. So don't listen to us. Well, we're going to go on pretending.
For some reason, Marco Polo sings through like every time he talks, he just sings everything.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I don't understand why. Maybe that was supposed to be a stereotype too.
Maybe it was his thing. Yeah.
But it sucked. I didn't like it. So they go through all this trouble, right? And they finally get a vase and they bring it back and put it up on the mantle and proceed to knock it right back over and break it. So it was all for nothing.
So they built they went through, and they were there for days building the Great Wall, doing all those things, ruining that banquet in Italy, and then all that for naught. And then Missy comes in. They're like, "Oh, we're so sorry, we broke your vase." And then she was like, "Do you have any idea what that's worth?"
It was free from like the Chinese place down the street.
Yeah, exactly. So this was a pretty funny episode. Like as weird as it was, and as much as it, like, you have to get used to the surfer lingo because it is constant. And like they are just 90. It's like two Michelangelos from Ninja Turtles talking to each other.
Pretty accurate. I think these guys took it to the extreme though. I think this was way more than Ninja Turtles ever did.
Oh, completely. Because I don't know if I've ever heard bodacious more, or excellent, or heinous is a big thing. Most heinous. That'll carry us over into the second episode we watched for today's show, A Grimm Story of an Overdue Book. Season 1, episode 13, and I chose this one because it had to do with the Brothers Grimm, and I was curious.
I knew you were going to choose this one too because Callie didn't choose an episode for us. So it's like, Joseph, why don't you do this one? And like I was looking at the list and I saw Grimm on there. I'm like, I know he's going to choose that one.
you know me well.
You being like the horror kind of buff and things like that, like anything like, a Grimm fairy tale or something, like I could totally see you going straight for it. And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, you called it.
Thank you for being predictable.
I almost chose the Babe Ruth episode, but then this one stood out to me. So I was like, yep, got to do it.
Nice. Good job.
In this one, Ted is on the library's most overdue book list for not returning a story written by the Brothers Grimm. So he and Bill scourge through many places in the past to find a copy of the book.
So yeah, this was pretty much like, this episode was just a big cluster of all kinds of weird stuff.
Oh man, it was all over the place.
It didn't follow any logical thing whatsoever. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, the plot line was insane. I didn't even really understand what their ultimate plan was.
Me either, because it did not make any sense.
No, because it's like, okay, so your library books do. Why wouldn't you just go to the past to make yourself return it?
So there is a reason.
Yes.
And they completely negate the reason in the next episode we watch.
Oh, you know what? Yes. The reason was because you can't go back and change your own past, is what they state. Rufus, George Carlin's character, states in this. And it's like, okay, fine, that covers you, you're good. But yeah, negated in the next episode, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I was thinking that too when I was watching. I was like, didn't they just say?
Yeah, exactly.
Even though that was a whole season ago, technically.
Yeah, but like I like this because apparently there's library police.
Oh, I love that part. Yeah.
And so Ted had this book that had been overdue since he was like 8. And so he owes like thousands of dollars and is going to go to like library jail or something.
Right.
The guy's like almost like frisking him like against the library police van. And Bill says something like, "What'd you do?" And Ted's like, "You know me, I've never done anything." And I thought that was kind of funny because I'm like, yeah, there was definitely some double meaning there. And I think that's funny. I've never done anything. Like, yeah, probably. He was going to go on trial. And the trial was going to be in the children's book section next to the puppet stage of the library.
Yeah.
So that made me laugh. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny.
It was good. It was comical in that sense, definitely. And for whatever reason, and I still don't really get the reason, like I said, but
there's a big plot hole here.
They decide that the best way to approach this, since they have this time machine and they have to use it in every episode, is let's go back in time and meet the people who made this book, the Grimm brothers.
Right.
So what was their plan to get to? It was so. Go on.
You're like, what?
Struggling. I'm struggling here.
So their plan was to go back and get they could guarantee they would get a copy if they went back in time because they would get like an original one from the Grimm brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So they go back in time before the Grimm brothers actually wrote it, which is the big plot hole.
Yeah. Here's what's interesting is that they're kind of perpetuating in a way the things that are happening in history to a certain degree. Like,
yeah, because here it was like one of the Grimm brothers was like, no, we don't write fairy tales. We write, it was like textbooks or English books.
They write like
or something.
Yeah. Grammar books,
all that garbage.
Yeah.
And the other brother, Jacob, who is totally voiced by Rob Paulson. I didn't look it up, but you can tell.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I think I might. Like, I like that idea of writing fairy tales. But, like, the thought had not occurred to them until Bill and Ted brought it up.
Right, which means that Bill and Ted, it's a whole, like, time, like, flux. It's time crisis, basically. Time crimes where where did this start? Because
it's like the you're your own grandpa thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Because for Bill and Ted to be in this situation, they would have had to done this already. And it's like at some point a chain would have had to begin. I don't know. That's where it's
a time loop.
It's a time loop, and it's a paradox for sure. And they treat it so lightly, which of course they can't really go into entirely in this series, but my mind is spinning when I see something like that because I'm just thinking about all the possibilities of like, what did I miss something? Like how did this wouldn't have started if they hadn't done this before? And then I get all confused. And so that's why I'm just like stumbling over my words, trying to figure it out.
Right. So, and I don't remember what the reason was, but the Grimm brothers were in trouble for, maybe it was they weren't paying their rent or something. And they're about to get like arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bill and Ted's like, we got to save them or else they'll never write the Grimm's fairy tales. So they bring them in the phone booth and for whatever reason decide the Revolutionary War in America is the place to go.
Yeah.
So they go there and meet George Washington. And I'm like, what is happening in this? This makes no sense. Like,
yeah, that's where it literally jumped the shark. Well, not literally. There was no shark.
What the heck is this?
It went back to George Washington. We also got Davy Crockett in there.
Who's talked like John Wayne the whole time. Pilgrim. Yeah. He wrestled a bear.
He kept calling him a bar or something.
Oh, yeah. He always called him Bar.
Yeah.
During the Revolutionary War part, Rufus was just there painting. Just in the background. He was just there already, and he was just painting stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, what? I don't understand. I don't understand this episode at all.
There's not a lot. I don't think it's meant to be understood. It's just meant to be experienced. They run into Lady Godiva, who's walking.
Someone's like, I love your chocolates.
Yeah. She's walking. Well, she's on the horseback nude, being covered by her hair, of course. And just randomly run into her. And then, it's funny because like the way they react to her, I can't remember what happens, but she throws her red cloak at them or it falls off or something.
Yeah.
Off screen. And they have these looks on their faces. Maybe I'll take a screenshot of it, but nice. Oh my God, that look was it was horrifying. Like they look like the most perverted, evil. It's like if the Grinch was a pervert, that's what his face would have looked like.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, sick.
It was terrible.
That creeps me out because I literally just saw someone dressed as the Grinch a couple days ago.
Oh, man.
This is probably the creepiest thing like I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
A perverted Grinch.
You would have to see that. It was.
Oh, that's sick.
Pretty bad.
So like through all this stuff, Jacob Grimm is getting these like half-formed ideas of like some of the fairy tales. Like he was like, Snow White and the Seven Soldiers and things like that. Yeah. So he sees the cape and he's like, I got another idea, Little Red Riding Cape.
It was clever, actually. I liked that aspect to it where he was almost there and then he just had to like push through a little bit, but they couldn't tell him. They couldn't like force ideas to him. They just kind of had to hint at it or push him along.
Even though they were changing history already anyway.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, even though they were breaking their own rules, but they still had, I don't know, some kind of...
They're like, We have
respect.
some sort of standards.
Yeah, low standards, but they were there.
Very low standards, but they're there. The long and short of it is basically like they end up getting, I guess that Jacob Grimm writes it really fast and has it printed and gives them a copy of,
the first copy.
Little Red Riding Hood, which was the one that he was missing.
And sign it too.
And signed it. And then he brought it back to the library to pay, to give it back. And it was worth so much money. It paid for all of his fines. Then they're like, oh, okay, like you've been cleared. And now we're after the next most wanted library, not theft, but the most wanted person by the library because of the debts and stuff.
The most overdue book list.
Which is Bill. So I'm like, once again, this is the second episode in a row where they go through everything for pretty much no reason.
Right.
Like by the end, it's like they're right back in the same situation.
Exactly. It just keeps it keeps building up on itself, and their adventure leads to more misadventure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, great. I don't know if I like that or I don't like that. I think I like it. I'm going to go with I like it.
This episode drove me insane.
This episode, there were things about it I didn't like because of I felt like if they could have just stretched out the Grimm brothers portion of it, it would have been much more interesting than bringing all of those different things and the bar into it and all of that.
It made no sense. The bar.
There was no reason. No reason.
But okay, so you're saying that you like that the resolution of each episode has no value.
Yes, I kind of appreciate that because of how different it is. That it's all for nothing, really. Their entire adventure is a moot point because it's...
That's a really good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Each episode is just a moot point.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
It's like these grand adventures, but they're so oblivious that it doesn't bother them and they keep on keeping on.
Exactly.
And that, I don't know. I like that about it. That I appreciate. So the last episode we watched for today's show was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in Babysitting, Season 2, Episode 7, which was the highest rated?
Yeah.
Somehow. And it was. And I looked it up on TV.com. It's like a 9.8 or something.
Yeah. For some reason.
No.
I've never heard you get so stern so fast.
Wrong.
No.
This is not the best episode.
Wow. Jeez.
Oh my God. If it was if we were picking a worst episode, I could see it, but no. This is not the best episode.
Well, if this is the best, imagine what all the other ones are.
Come on. Maybe it's the best episode of Season 2 because Season 2 took a huge turn downhill.
Yeah.
But
So give us the plot of this one.
I mean, I don't have a big overall plot for it, but basically Bill and Ted they break their guitars before their big show that's coming up, one of them breaks their guitar and they have to get a new one, but they can't just get any guitar. They see their Bill's dad's old guitar, his electric guitar, and they have to go get that one, but it was broken in the past. So they decide we have to go back to the past to save this guitar because this is the one that we need for our show.
Yeah, and the thing is that them as babies broke the guitar.
Oh, yeah.
So we're in the last episode. They're like, oh, we can't go back into our own past. In this episode, they're like, let's go back into our own past.
Let's change everything for a guitar.
All right, well...
Yeah.
So, and in this episode too, since this is Season 2, the animation looks very different. The animation looks better. I'll give them that. The voice acting is different. I don't know if I would say better. It's different.
The voice acting, it's not bad, but because we got used to hearing the actual people doing the voices, it's different and it's hard to transition to that.
These guys, I think, dialed up the surfer talk even more.
Oh, it was most heinous.
To my dismay, most heinous. And also, so this bugged me about the first season, and then they fixed it in this season, and then I think it ended up bugging me even more. So in the first season, everybody is drawn with whites to their eyes, except for Ted. Ted just has black dots for his eyes. That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone else has whites. Ted does not. So they fixed it in this season where Ted has eyes just like everybody else. But now it looks weird, and I don't like it.
He needs his black eyes back.
They should have just kept it. Like, there was no reason for them to do it before, but now that they changed it, I'm like, well,
You got used to it, yeah.
so much for that.
Yeah. In this episode, one thing I did like about it was where they go back, but since they're going back, they're already at Bill's house. So when they go back, it's just like a quick transition to the exact same spot. And they just end up exactly where they were in the future, in the past, or in the present, in the past. So I liked that it was a quick cut and it's still the exact same scene. That was pretty cool.
I'm going to go all science-y and just destroy this cartoon real quick.
Okay.
There is, if time travel was possible, let's just say that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
There is no possible way to end up where you want to end up because the Earth rotates and goes around the solar system, right? Like goes around the sun, orbits the sun. So the Earth was not in the same spot 800 years ago as it is now. So if you were like, hey, I'm going to go back to this point in my house 20 years ago, you would probably end up in space.
Well, okay, if you're looking at it like they are going to the exact same spot literally, but I think that they get to choose where they go as part of the rules of this cartoon anyway.
But by choosing where they go, you mean they dial two numbers on a phone and it goes exactly where they need at the right specific time and the right exact point in the freaking universe.
Well, I think they dial 5 numbers because they dial 2 ones and then they dial the year they want to go to, 1974, I think it was.
And it just plops them right where they need to be.
Right where they need to be. I mean, that's how time travel works. I have no qualms with this. I'm not fighting it. I accept it. But when they come out of the time machine and go to the door, Bill's dad, and I think it's Ted's dad, I'm assuming, they come out and they're dressed up in their disco gear and they're ready to party. They see Bill and Ted and they're like, hey, are you the babysitters we called? And, they're
like, sure.
Yeah, I guess. And then, so they,
I guess.
And
those dads got to go get that honey. Oh my gosh.
Well, they already have wives because they're like, our wives are at tennis or something.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I wonder what happens there. And what happens if it's a divorce or if she died or something, and then he gets, upgrades and gets Missy?
I don't know. We have to watch the movie. We're missing a lot of context here.
Do we have to watch the movie? I mean,
it's a popular movie. I'm sure it's good. It's good. We'll watch it.
Jeez.
So in doing this, so they meet their younger selves. Their younger selves, of course, don't recognize them because why would they? But they're confused about why they don't recognize them. And then they are trying to find the guitar while dealing with the hijinks of the little kids, young Bill and Ted.
Yeah, they do cause all kinds of hijinks. They're breaking stuff and pretty much anytime adult Bill and Ted turn their gaze away. That sounded weird. Every time they turn around, those babies are just scooting off somewhere else to cause some problems.
Right, but they still can't find the guitar until the babies go and they get into the toilet paper.
Well, first the actual babysitters show up.
Oh, right, yeah,
which are some pretty looking girls, and because they have no plan, they introduce themselves with their actual names, and they're like, "We're babysitting you," and they're like, "Oh, no, you're here for our little brothers."
But kind of, yeah. Oh, one of the girls' voices was played by Tara Strong.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure which one. I think it was the brunette, but
really,
can't swear to that.
The one thing I didn't get is why then would the babysitters I don't know. I feel like they would think something's weird if they came to babysit these little brothers while the older brothers their age are still there.
But then they just go right into it and they're like, hey, let's put on some music.
And they dance together.
Yeah. So they put on some vinyl music, which confused the Bill and Ted, older Bill and Ted, of course.
Yeah, they didn't know what that is.
Yeah, which sucks.
But people knew vinyl. I mean,
I would think so.
I mean, people now still know what vinyl is.
Well, now it's repopularized, but
I guess.
I don't know that there was a period of time. Well, I don't know. I mean, they're just really dim-witted, so I can give it that.
That's a very good point. Okay. They also struggled with the television because they said remote controls hadn't been invented yet.
Oh, and there were no channels with just music videos because MTV hadn't been invented yet, I guess.
Right. They were really struggling there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize remote controls weren't invented until later, which
I
that
assumed they
seems
were.
inaccurate, but
Well, no, this is historically accurate, all of it, remember?
oh yeah, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot.
don't fight it.
Spaghetti and all that.
Right.
Yes.
So eventually they kind of just like drive the babysitters out. I think what happened? Oh, they're like, didn't they say just like, we've got it from here or something? And
I don't remember.
They're like, well, can you at least pay us? And then Bill,
Oh yeah,
Bill
they're
goes
like,
and,
we don't have any money.
yeah. And then Bill goes and breaks the baby Bill's piggy bank.
Yeah, the piggy bank.
To pay them the $4 that they asked for.
Then those kids find the guitar.
Oh, they find the guitar, yes, but then they are just like off the wall crazy, and for some reason, like when they have the TV on, they see, is that Sound of Music, like a parody of Sound of Music that they're watching?
Yes.
Yeah, and they pull. Okay, this part I'm like I don't get why they did this or what the point of it was except filler, but they go into okay. Here's another weird part about this. It's not just that they're traveling time. They can travel into like fiction
Movies.
Yeah. Like even in the intro, at least the second season intro, it shows the Enterprise from Star Trek and just all kinds of different like weird things. So they can travel into pop culture basically. And so they go and get the lead singer person from Sound of Music just to sing so that she can sing to the kids. And while she's rocking out on the electric guitar, what they're I forgot about this. They are trying to, when the babysitters are watching the kids, they go to this comic shop or this like gas station that has comics to pick up this comic so that they can add culture to their kids, because the way that they're being raised right now or the way that they're being treated by the babysitters, they're turning into like well-behaved, nice kids, which is like, this is another one of those examples of they would have had to done this already or else that's what they would have been. So they turned themselves into the rockers that they are. But how would that have happened without them doing it beforehand? That's another one of those time loops.
Yeah. Like what you do is you get like a room full of really crappy writers and have them write episodes for this cartoon, and then it makes sense.
Well, fair enough. There's this weird subplot where there's this comic book store guy, he's at the gas station and he owns a couple of arcade machines. I don't even know if I want to go into that. It's weird.
This is somebody that they know in their time, and he's older,
right?
And then he's got some arcade machines, and then they talked about at one point his comic book collection and stuff. So they go back in time, they see the younger version of him who was trying to get this last comic issue of something and he couldn't get it, but they found it.
Yeah, because they got the last issue like before he could pick it up.
That's right. Yeah,
and
they got
so
the last issue.
They took it, so he couldn't get it. When they come back into the present, they just drop it. And then he's like, oh my God, you know what this is? And I've been looking for this issue for years. He's offering them like loads of money, like 300, no, 400. Like he keeps raising his own price.
Oh, before that though, like they end up breaking the dad's guitar anyway.
Oh yeah, that happens anyway. Which makes me think
somehow they threw it out a window and then the dad ran over it with his car.
Which makes me think that maybe that's how it happened the first time. Like,
I don't think so, because there's a picture of them in like a closet with the guitar broken.
Oh yeah,
as
yeah.
babies.
Okay, so maybe they strung it out.
Changed
a little
how
bit,
they broke it, but it's still broke.
Maybe that is just a sign that you cannot change history. That it is going to happen. Certain events are going to happen regardless.
Maybe,
or maybe it was just poorly written.
Yes. So they get back to the present because once again the entire journey was all for naught. Because they brought that comic book back, the guy's offering all this money for it, and they use that money to get a new guitar.
Going back to the past in this instance did help them to come to a resolution, but the entire trip was for naught. It was really just the comic book. that gave them the money that they needed.
Yeah.
So again, moot point, all of it.
Yeah, all of it moot.
Which is comedic. I find that funny. I like that part.
You would.
Overall, like this episode, out of the 3 that we watched, no, if this was not the best episode.
Nah.
It's bodacious. Or no, that's bogus. Bodacious is good. Bogus is bad.
Bodacious is good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mixing up my slang. Well, Chris, I think it's about time we jump into our very own tubular time-traveling phone booth, jump back to the 90s to give our inner kids a disappointing preview of the man-children they'll become, and find out what they thought of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures.
This cartoon was full of guitars and time travel and hot stepmoms, which sounds totally bodacious. But instead it was kind of heinous and silly, and I got kind of bored, and their voices were so annoying. I gave this show 2.5 bowls of Frosted Slushy cereal out of 5. Bogus. As with the movie from which it derived, this cartoon was an interesting mixture of comical misadventures and history class, sort of a reverse Schoolhouse Rock with way more emphasis on the rock part. It certainly had its comical moments, but you really have to put yourself in the right mind frame to deal with the endless amounts of surfer lingo, because that is literally every exchange with Bill and or Ted. With the original cast from the film and higher production value, Season 1 was definitely superior to Season 2, so much so that it almost seemed like watching 2 different shows. Overall, I'd give this show 3 big bowls of most excellent cereal out of 5. While I certainly wouldn't use it for educational purposes, the various cameos of historical figures could potentially lead to an interest in researching them further. For instance, who knew that the term Peeping Tom originated from the tale of Lady Godiva riding naked to the town in order to lift her husband's oppressive taxes? I sure didn't, but now I do. And so do you. So thanks, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures.
You probably shouldn't tell mom and dad about that little fact, or they may never let you watch Bill and Ted again.
That's true.
But then again, that may be for the best.
So do you have any final thoughts about this cartoon?
Not really. I mean, it,
You just ended there. Nah.
I mean, I feel like there were things that I missed having not seen the movie, but generally speaking, I understand where it was going. I see the comedy to it, especially the first couple episodes, but at the same time, I cannot see myself watching this entire series because it's just a repeat of the same thing. Set in motion an adventure that ends up going nowhere. Turns out it's all a moot point. Lather, rinse, repeat. And that's it. That's the show. It's just recycling the same thing over and over. It's a time loop in and of itself.
Yeah, this cartoon was kind of a reminder for me of things I did not like about the 90s. Like, just things that would annoy me. And at least some of the lines they had were kind of funny. But man, the way they talked was so annoying. And it just got worse as like the show went on, and it annoyed me to no end. Like, the show wasn't terrible, but even watching like these 3 episodes was too much for me. And I was just like, why? And yeah, like we've said a few times, each episode the resolution just kind of was like, okay, well, nothing really mattered. You know, like they would end up in the same, aside from like that last episode, they ended up in the same position they were in before. You know, so yeah, I wasn't getting anywhere with this one. It wasn't the worst, but I could not watch any more of this show.
Yeah. I might watch the movies because I'm sure those are better, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Only if we're shamed by the fans to the point where I can't bear not watching them anymore. So, sorry, Callie, if we kind of...
if we like destroyed all your hopes and dreams.
But... I'm glad we watched it, though. At least now we know.
She did not say this was her favorite. She just happened to pick it because she saw it was on like Hulu.
Okay, so it might have been...
It may have been oh my gosh, this was a thing? You should watch this one.
Oh, yeah. See how it is, so I don't have to.
But thank you, Callie.
Yeah,
seriously,
thank you, seriously. Like, feel free to give us more bad shows, good shows even.
Absolutely.
That'd be cool, too. I'd love that, but... Bad shows are fine.
Definitely give us some more suggestions in the future.
All right, well, listeners, it looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
Shaolin Showdown, suggested by Fredomon via YouTube. This is the second one that Fredomon has suggested for us.
Oh, yeah, that guy suggested Arthur, which I liked.
Yes.
Arthur was fun.
Yes. So thanks again for giving us another one, Fredomon.
Once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
We'll see you next Saturday.
Excellent.
Bodacious.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.